Folks, welcome to One versus One Me, Climate Change, Man versus Nature. I'm D
Hola.
for Eternal Padawan and my co-host, Cakes.
Hola. Hello. Oh, sorry, gotta turn the volume down on my tablet. Forgot about that. Hi, guys.
Yeah, we've got, like I say, a little bit of a climate change show lined up for you today where, well, certainly my point of view has been knocked back and forth this week doing my research. It's not quite as it's nowhere near as clear cut as I've been led to believe in the conspiracy realms, let's say. So yeah, have you got anything you want to say there, Case? Because I'm going to play a little video, the Greta Thunberg video, in a second. That's all. So just so people.
No, mine. Oh, there's just a lot of conflicting opinions out there at the moment, isn't there? So it's difficult to stay on one. This is my mindset. Go on, play the video.
Right, let me get there a second then.
Oh, sorry.
So I've got to share screen. Yeah. Well, and like I say, this will be just I may not share it all because, to be fair, I don't know how much I'm really allowed to share, but we'll find out these things as we go. So because last time I tried sharing, it didn't work too well.
No, right,
is that share it? Let's play them.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah, so I'm going to put the sound up.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Aton. Jammer, Jennifer, and Sky.
Yeah, how's it going? Oh, make it.
There we go. Can't hear it yet. Smash it. We can't hear it, D.
No? Wow. Was it then? Stop sharing. Again, I do apologise, folks. We are new to this this setup, so give me just 1 second, and I will try that again.
Well,
share, yeah, that's why I didn't click the share audio button. I thought it would have stayed clicked from the last time I tried doing it. I do apologise. We'll try this one more time.
Such an angry lady.
Mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money.
This is coming through now.
Of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 10 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today, that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
All right.
Just a bit dramatic.
Stop that one. Oh. Well, see, this is my problem with it, to be fair. It's really not dramatic, because she spends all the time, it's literally every sentence, she's down, looking at the next one, trying to come up with all this emotion, how forced it is. And I mean, the poor little puppet. Really. I mean, it's not on people using, I know she's 16 now, but children.
I see her as a child. And I see her as a child. I know you don't, but I see her as a child.
Like I say, legally in Scotland, she could get married. But I mean, she's very much on the child side. And like I say, she's retarded as well. I think she's got like a Asperger's or some such. So it makes it almost impossible to attack her, which is why I think they've used her basically. So yeah.
I want to just start with saying that at the beginning of this week, at the beginning of this week, I was very much for. I 100% believed in man-made climate change, and Dee was 100% leaning more towards natural side. Just going to go to the comments real quickly, because Jammin Jammer, to whom is she speaking to? That was the United Nations, wasn't it? That one was.
Yeah, she was speaking to the world leaders of the United Nations. Yeah, that was.
Vegan Realist said, seems so fake to me. Jamie said she did better than I could have done at 16 or even now, to be fair. And that's one thing I was going to say.
True. I would have peed me pants.
Let's give her some credit where credit is due. I can't speak another language fluently enough. I just can't. I am very, very bad. I know little bits of different languages, but there is no way in hell that I could go into a United Nations thing and tell them how I feel on a subject so strongly and so articulately, regardless as to whether she was reading a script. She did read it articulately. She enunciates, for somebody who English is not her first language, she enunciates better than most Brummies, I'm not going to lie. So I will give her credit where credit is due. I don't agree with using her as the kind of campaign manager kind of thing.
Poster child.
Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Lisa Simpson. I quite like Lisa Simpson, but she reminds me of like
social justice warrior extreme.
Yeah, I struggle with that. So at the beginning of this week, me and Dee were polar opposites. Now we're both kind of mushed in the middle somewhere. We're going to give you all of the information that we've found in the past week, and let you do with it what you want to do with it. It's up to you. You can flush it down the toilet for all I care. You have the information here. So yeah, more with the Greta. You have the two sides at the moment. You've got you've got three sides. You've got the people who were thinking like me, who are like, Greta really does annoy me. You've got the people who don't like Greta at all. I saw a post the other day, and it had there's a picture of like a burnt out body on the back of a pickup truck with a sign sticking to it, Greta, and the caption was you call us snowflakes, yet you're the one that's being offended by a 16-year-old girl. And that made me chuckle. Everybody's going crazy at the moment. All we're hearing about is this young 16-year-old girl who we have to look at it objectively. Her mum was a what's that horrible contest that I hate? Eurovision Song Contest contender or winner or something. I forget. And her dad was an actor, but then also you've got her granddad was one of the first people who got climate change in the public eye. Like, it wasn't just a little story or we're all going to burn to death kind of like crazy person standing in the street. So yeah.
But of course you get images like this one. I'm going to try and share now. I couldn't find the one you sent me on the phone, but I think that's the one. Yeah, you get these
D's a robot.
D's image child.
Oh.
Looks exactly the same, pigtails and all. I mean, it's again,
it's not loaded
and
yet.
this is where I'm going to be a lot of this podcast. It's the agenda side of things. The agenda, this forced fascism that's being pushed upon us all as liberalism, basically.
Sorry, your partner's just sent me a message, an anonymous message to Greta. She might have sent you the same one. I'm not going to click
possibly,
on it right now.
Yeah.
We're here.
But yeah. So, no, I mean.
Oh.
Well, so I was going to say, yeah. I mean, I think we kind of pretty much agree here on the Greta thing anyway. So, and that was just more of a little warm up to get the general theme of things going. But
yeah. So what is Greta trying to get across? That's the big question. Is what is she trying to put out there, and what is climate change all about? So, briefly, the idea of climate change is that we are messing with the environment and the globe is warming. So it used to be called global warming, although back in the day, what was it for you? It was the ozone, something about the ozone.
Oh yeah, I went through the ozone layer depletion and acid rain and topsoil depletion. So yeah, I've gone through a few scares in my 41 years of life. Yeah, I'm not 60. I just look it. I know.
Yeah. And they all keep changing. It's gone from various different things, and now we don't have global warming anymore. We have climate change. And for me, the reason we don't have global warming anymore is because you have those idiots at winter who go, oh, it's bloody cold out there, so much for global warming. Because it's winter. It's going to be cold in winter.
What happened basically was the result of global warming is a cooling trend. So they couldn't really get away with calling it global warming because that's not really where it's heading. So they had to call it climate change. And also, like I say, the figures, again, trying to find graphs that give you a consistent figure of verifiable information. It's impossible. There's just so much disinformation out there. It's again, I was a big man does not cause climate change, and I'm looking into this and I can't prove that. I can't prove it. I can only show my point of view from the way I see the agenda pushing it, and the corporations trying to take over. And this little Greta girl, exactly. We've got to look at what she has actually done. She's done a few speeches, but what has she actually done? She's done a strike for an hour. I mean, not being funny, how that's changing nothing. It's going to change because people are just going to go back and do exactly what they did. I mean,
yeah, they are.
We need a complete and utter shift in the way we allow the corporations that tell us what we want, because it really is. I mean, I'd love to bring up that if I could find it. Actually, I might. There's a graph that Oxfam did a few years back that shows which companies are owned by what companies, and literally, it's all the companies that we think we have all this choice from are all owned by about 6 companies at the core.
I mean, Mars makes cat food. You know,
yeah.
Mars makes chocolate. Mars makes
go and look for the go and look for the Oxfam Corporation chart. I imagine if you type that in, you should be able to find what I'm looking for. And so we don't have the choice even that we think we have. It's all fed to us, and again, that's what I'm seeing with the climate agenda. I mean, I did want to go into a little something that I'd been sent on my phone by my girlfriend, and well, the headline is 120 years of climate scares. And again, almost every one of these I read out have got links to the actual newspapers it was presented in. So we're starting in 1895. You've got geologists think the world may be frozen up again. And then you got in 1902, disappearing glaciers, deteriorating slowly with a persistency that means scientific fact surely disappearing. It's in 1902. Oh, this information comes from a site called AmericanThinker.com as well. And in 1912, you got Professor Schmidt warns of an encroaching ice age. So we're back to the cooling again. 1923, Science says Arctic will wipe out Canada. Professor Gregory of Yale University, American representative to Pan Pacific Science Congress. And then the same year, the discoveries of changes in the sun's heat and the southward advance of glaciers in recent years has given rise to conjectures of the possible advent of a new ice age. Again, 1924, Macmillan reports signs of new ice age. 1929, most geologists think the world is growing warmer. See, we're back to the warming trend again. And this literally goes on. I mean, I urge you to go and look at this, because this is all from newspaper articles. This is all verifiable stuff. You can go and do as much research on as you want. So this really is, it's an agenda that's being pushed, and it really is. It gives it just enough time for people to like move on and grow up, and aimed at the kids, so that when they grow up, they're going to be pushing this agenda, if you know what I mean. And it's, again, I mean, right, we'll get up to 1952. I've missed a few years out. We have learned the world has been getting warmer in the half century. And then 1954, winters are getting milder, summers drier, glaciers are receding, deserts growing. And in the same year, climate, the heat may be off. I mean, it's crazy. So like I say, AmericanThinker.com, 120 years of climate scares. Check that out.
Have a butcher's. You've frozen. D.
Sorry.
You're back. So
how's it going, Mick? Sorry. And anyone else who's joined us? Sheriff's
we've got Mick and Chris. So
I can subscribe.
on my education journey this week, that's what I'm going to call it, educational journey this week, so let me give you a bit of backstory on my thinking.
Sorry, Kate, just before we start, in the chat there, please, any serious questions you want asked, We will have a question and answer session at the end, so please leave it till that, because otherwise we will just have to keep interrupting each other to answer questions.
Yeah.
So please hold questions.
We'll drop the link in a bit as well. I'm sure we'll get you on in a bit, and,
yes.
and we'll have little short intervals of like 10-minute, like, tell me what you think kind of thing. So my opinion was very much what the mainstream media has told me, what Dee has told me, which I haven't always necessarily. A lot of the time with what Dee tells me, I have to take with a pinch of salt until I have done my own research.
I wish I'd taken it with a pinch of salt. Sorry.
Because I don't like just taking what somebody tells me on face value without knowing. Like I've said to you guys before, I very much need to hear and see the information for myself. It has to be in front of me. So I really didn't know what global warming was, what affected global warming at all. I had just listened to what had been told me. So I found global CO2 emissions from human activity has increased 400% by 1950. The concentration of CO2 in the air has reached more than 400 parts per million compared to the 290 parts per million in 1750. So I was like, well, why does the CO2 affect global warming? What does that mean? I don't understand how CO2 can increase that, because I'm not a scientist. I don't know. So I need more. What does this mean? Greenhouse gases, the more carbon dioxide in the air, the hotter it becomes. And I was listening to a stream the other day, and I want to say it was Chris or Mick or Jed or one of the, you guys are all very new to me. You're all one person at the moment. I don't really know who you are. You seem very interesting, and I can't wait to have great chats with you. One of you was like, well, the volcanoes. So I was like, okay, I will Google volcanoes on how they affect climate change, because I was like, man, I don't really understand. So I then Googled volcanoes, and this is what I came up with. Where is it? The internet. Some say volcanoes heat the earth, and others say volcanoes cool the earth. So did I just say volcanoes? I'm not sure. We'll skip past that. So I didn't much understand how these volcanoes can cool the earth and how they can heat the earth. So volcanoes produce 200 million tons of carbon dioxide annually, whereas humans apparently create 24 billion tons of CO2 annually in cars and industry. That's from Scientific America. I honestly don't know how well we can trust Scientific America, because they posted some like weird it was on my travels trying to find out what's legitimate, what's not. What did they post? It was some kind of like pseudoscience hokum, and I was like, well, that's not real. So it made me all very I don't really understand. But then I found this fancy little graph, and I was like, oh, fancy little graph. And
I'll put you full screen.
So put me in full screen. Make me big.
Wait, there we go.
There we go. So I found this fancy little graph here. Okay. So again, me and Dee have found so many graphs. My brother's girlfriend was sent me some graphs earlier, and we've both found so many conflicting graphs, and it's very difficult to work out which graphs are correct. However, this one says, let's pull that down. Right. This one says here. So the red line is all human factors. So this here is the red line. This is from 1850 to 2017. The blue line is volcanoes. So that's this one here. Volcanoes. So they have a cooling trend. The red one has a warming trend. And then I have another one, because Dee was all, yeah, but don't you have one that has all of the factors? And I've got most of the factors. So I'll show you the factors here. You've got greenhouse gases, aerosol, can't read upside down and backwards, land use, ozone, solar, and volcanoes. So again, greenhouse gases. Now, if we affect greenhouse gases by increasing our carbon dioxide, if we increase our greenhouse gases by increasing the carbon dioxide, then how is it? No, if we don't increase our carbon dioxide, then how is it that this line is flat? This is something that I want to know. I don't understand. There's a lot of people who don't think man-made climate change is real. Why is this bit flat until we hit around the Industrial Revolution and we all of a sudden go up when nothing else really changes? You've got land use goes down, aerosols, no, sorry, that's aerosols. Aerosols go down, land use stays flat. Volcanoes have a cooling effect. Ozone is on the increase, and that's because we damage the ozone, and that makes us vulnerable to UV rays. And then solar is wibbly here. How if we don't make this, if we are not the cause of global warming, then why has greenhouse gases? What's that line for then? What is it?
But have we conclusively proven that carbon dioxide is the cause of climate change? So my question is, yeah, all these gases, yeah, it very much looks like from the graphs that humans have introduced a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But again, I'll go back. There's a let me click on it so I know where to send people for well, it's on livescience.com. And I mean, to be fair, I did come up with a lot of surprises in my research. I found out the ice core records only go back 2.5 million years, which is a smidgen of time, considering what I'm about to say, the dinosaur era, which was 65 million years ago. And that had, apparently, according to climate models and stuff, and this was published by Katie Moscovic in March 24, 2014 on Live Science, this information. And these dinosaurs grew to humongous heights. The plants and vegetation grew to equally humongous sizes, and this was with 5 times today's CO2 in the atmosphere. So I have to question whether this CO2 we're adding to the atmosphere is the cause of.
Do we know the temperature back then, though? Do we know the?
No, this is the thing. It's done on it. Literally, it's done right. So the climate models we have today, yeah, that they use to predict climate change. Again, I'm going to. I don't care whether you like. I mean, it triggers you or not. But so they pump in information that they do know, and they add it to the climate model, and basically that pumps out a number of what things were like back then. It's not any kind of, this is no proof for me. I'm not trying to say, I'm again asking the question, like, yeah, has this increase in CO2 been a detriment? Or, because like I say, plants, they feed off CO2. That's what plants live on. That if we want more trees, then they're going to need more CO2, basically. And again,
but do we not live? Is the globe not in perfect harmony in that respect? Has nature not set itself out to be able to compensate for the CO2 that volcanoes slurp up? So
well, the thing was, right, the cooling trend with volcanoes, off the top of my head, I'd imagine the reason that causes a cooling trend is because of the ash plumes it pushes up into the atmosphere that blots out the sun. So you're going to get a cooling trend from
that is why the cooling trend is, because
that
less
again,
solar activity.
Yeah, that cooling trend is not going to be permanent, because that ash is going to dissipate, and it's still going to leave all the CO2 that it pumped out in the atmosphere. So I mean, again, it
is, but the trees not the trees can then absorb that, you know.
Yeah,
the trees are there to, well, they're not there solely to absorb CO2, but do the trees not absorb what the volcanoes do and what we breathe out? The world should be in balance, and then we've pumped all this extra CO2 into the atmosphere.
It should be in balance, but all of my research into history in general and everything shows that it's never been that state of balance. I mean, you've got tectonic plate movements and stuff which shift stuff around. So I mean, the Savannah Desert used to be a tropical wasteland. Antarctic has got proof that it was more likely a tropical zone at one point. So I'm wondering where this stability is supposed to, where humanity has come up with this idea of stability, really, and how like planet Earth is this stable and self-sustaining unit, and I just don't see any evidence for it in our historical records. I really don't. Even the guesses by main, and this is, and again, I'm even using mainstream information like this. This trend of stabilization is a myth. It really is.
Yeah,
I mean, we're all trying to save the planet. I mean, the planet really will be fine. We've got to save ourselves here, because what I don't disagree with is we're choking the oceans with plastic. We're wasteful. I mean, let's say, as Western society chucks away 40% of the food it produces,
because the bananas aren't the right shape and the pineapples are too small, and it's ridiculous.
It's the regulations. And yeah, I mean, I've worked in food factories in the past, and I've seen, like, we've had to chuck away like enough food that would chuck this room in an hour. Like, I mean, we've had to chuck away purely because it's come out of the machine, and the lines on the ice cream have been slightly off, like center or something, and it's a ridiculous thing. And you're just pulling out piles of these things, chucking them in bins, and they go to the waste.
And it is so wasteful. I haven't read all of the comments, but I did catch one that Jamie said, which was, if climate change isn't real, then what's wrong with cleaning up the environment? And I've said this city a few times. And that, for me, whether climate change is real or not, I do still think that we need to be mindful of what we are doing to this planet, not just for ourselves, but for our future generations. I mean, both of us have kids, you know?
Yeah, well, look, this is where I do turn into a Greta. I mean, I blame every one of you. You, me, everyone. I blame every one of you for the mess we're in.
Hey,
yo, Triggerboo! How's it going, man? Inside joke for the Ghostbusters crew.
Our clan. Triggerboo is a good friend of mine. It's Sean Allen. For those of you who are like, what are you on about?
Yeah.
I call him Triggerboo. Because I'm adorable. So yeah, for me, whether climate change is real or not, we should still be looking after the planet. There's so many small steps. I mean, I've got my reusable cup that I use. When I go out, I've got my reusable cup that is made from recycled black plastic from my work. I'm not using it because of product placement, because it has my logo down the side.
You can all recycle our own plastic as well. I've discovered just how easy it is to recycle a lot of your own plastic and just turn it into pretty much whatever you want. You just need to apply a bit of heat and a mold, basically, and just squash it into whatever shape you want. You can make all sorts of it. You can even turn it into 3D printer wire. If you've got a 3D printer and you want to make your own stuff, collect your milk bottles, and anything that's PVE2, you can melt down and push through. I mean, you do need to get a little bit of maybe specialized equipment that heats a nozzle up and pushes it into shape through the nozzle, and you've got your 3D printer wire. So yeah.
Shall we open this up? Shall we read the comments and reply to the comments first, actually?
Well, yeah, questions, I suppose, yeah, because like I say, to be fair, again, unfortunately, sorry, folks, I was expecting to come at this like there's no bloody way that humans are causing climate change. It's just not happening. I've like heard all this stuff, and unfortunately, most of what I heard is exactly the opposite of what you're hearing in the mainstream, and it is just stuff that's not really based on the full figures a lot of the time, because a lot of these graphs you see the figures are missed out. A lot of these graphs don't show the amount of CO2 and stuff that's held in clouds, for example. Methane, or not methane deposits, but you get deposits from rotting areas and stuff that boil up, and they're very much like volcanic eruptions and stuff that just happen. We don't know about them because we don't see them because we're not around. And so
YouTube cat. God, it's just there we go. She's come to say hello.
So somebody's put melting plastic at home would be a bit I don't know, dangerous, lethal. No, if you keep it below a certain temperature, anyway, again, go and do your research before you try anything I tell you. Look into it. But yeah, no, as long as you keep it below a certain temperature, it doesn't release toxic fumes, so you're a-okay. And I think you can recycle it up to 7 times. So again, it's but
so
see, I come from a generation.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I come from a generation that was more naturally. We did recycling more naturally. Like, I mean, I'm nowhere near as wasteful.
But is your generation not the generation that has made things less recyclable?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, yeah, my generation is responsible for that.
Because this is something that my dad always comes at me like, oh, in my day we had a milkman and we could go and take our bottles down to the local newsagents.
Yeah,
and I was like,
well,
it's
all natural.
I'd love to do that. I don't have that option. I'm 26. Do you know what I mean? I had no influence on the decision to stop doing that.
Yeah, no, and neither did I in mine. But
I didn't do that.
Yeah, I was born into that lifestyle. Like I say, you only used what you had to, and nothing got chucked away. We used glass bottles, paper bags. There was just none of this. Only plastic we really had was in toys.
Yeah.
Then we later found out that all the toys had bloody lead paint and stuff on them. We were all screwed anyway. Like, I mean, no, it's like I say, that we got tricked by the corporations that want to make money off of nothing, basically.
Yeah.
Literally nothing.
So,
because it literally, it does not cost one single penny to sort out climate change. In fact, we would stop spending like that. The only way to stop climate change is to stop buying plastic. If you want the corporations to stop making plastic products,
this is it. You as the consumer has the power.
Responsibility. No, you have the responsibility not to buy those products just because they make your life a little bit easier, and because they're a little bit cheaper than the more expensive, well-made product. It's your fault. Every time you go into a pound shop, every time you do anything on a budget, it's your fault. You are causing climate change.
Yeah.
Go out and spend some money and buy quality gear, quality stuff that's going to last. Stop buying fridges and freezers for 120 quid when you know it's going to last you to the day the warranty ends, and you're going to have to go out and buy a new one. And corporations will have to then start making quality products, and then they can start charging a bit more for their products and start paying a bit more for their staff, and their staff can actually have a bit more money in their product to buy quality products.
Yeah.
Again, we've got to stop giving up our responsibility in all this. We really have.
Yeah, like you look at technology, for example, phones. They used to be the Nokia 3310 is a phone that always comes to mind because it was an absolute beast. You could throw that thing off a block of flats and that motherfudger is surviving. I have a Samsung Galaxy S9. That's the phone that I have right now because I am in this little thing. Pass me your phone. So I, granted, have recycled my old phones. My old phone, this is the Samsung Galaxy S7. This is now Dan's phone. Here we go.
Side cycling.
Huh?
Is that what it's called when you give something to somebody else? Is that side cycling?
I'm not too sure. It's not upcycling. It's just give your boyfriend a phone so that he can actually video chat you whilst you're in a long distance
So you
relationship.
can pester him all the time. Nag,
yeah, no, definitely. It's so I can text him, be like, "Oi, I'm on the bus. Make me a cup of tea, you." That is literally the majority of our conversations are. Oh yeah, our conversations are. Do we need anything from the shop? Can you make me some tea? That is, it's laughing because it's true. But my point is, the Nokia 3310, you would use that for years. Like, that wasn't the kind of phone where you'd have it for a year. Right, my contract's up, so I'll get a new one. The reason I wanted a new phone wasn't necessarily so I could give my phone to Dan. It was because my contract was up and I wanted a new phone. Because I am in this consumer mindset.
Almost like it's designed that way, isn't it?
Funny that 24-month contract, and we are in this whole, Anyway, look, let's read these comments. So we've got.
Oh yes, sorry, I've gone on to banners, so I'm not even looking
people being mindful of waste is just common sense, but what we're getting is apocalyptic propaganda. Then people protesting and begging to have their rights taken away even more is ridiculous. Jamie's replied with, "What do you mean by begging to have their rights taken away?" So Chris says, "Makes me wonder what they're teaching the kids to make them fear growing up and suddenly protest the government." Oh, that is, speaking of that, that's one thing that really bothered me, because I'm going back to Greta said, "How dare you take my childhood away," or something along those lines. Well, how's your childhood being taken away, darling? Like, let's be realistic here. Like, my son's going to have the same, well, not the same upbringing as you because you're rich, but I don't think that climate change right now should have affected your upbringing, and it shouldn't have affected the way that
no,
that to me is self-righteous.
It shouldn't have, but unfortunately technology took away her childhood. Technology has taken away most children's childhood. I mean, not being funny, most kids, if you gave them a stick nowadays, they'd look at you and go, what the hell's that? I mean, honestly, it is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, so yeah, in many ways I really do feel sorry for today's children and how they are.
But I also don't want my son touching dirty sticks.
By an addiction technology, and this is the thing. This is again what most people don't know about today's technologies. These screens, these screens, and the apps and stuff on them, they release dopamine into your system, and you get addicted to it. I mean, literally addicted to it. When the notification goes off on your phone, your brain literally goes haywire. It goes absolutely nuts. It goes absolutely crazy.
Even the blue light.
Tests on this. I mean.
The blue light that your phone produces sends off endorphins. The blue light. Most new phones, most good phones have a turn off blue light setting, because the blue light makes your phone addictive. It keeps your brain, keeps your brain active, staring at a blue screen, because it's a blue light. It's an unnatural light. Looking at an unnatural light. Like, if you've stared at the light, I'm pointing to my light, if you stared at your ceiling light for as long as we stare at our phones and our TVs and all the rest of it, it would just keep your brain buzzing. I'm being sent another picture. Hang on.
Well, no, this is the thing. And like I say, to me, this is child abuse. Like, if I see this in the hand of a child now, I question the ability of today's parents. I mean, and none of them have got a decent reason of why they let their kids have them.
Brother just sent me a picture. Old man yells at clouds.
Like I say, so kids don't need phones now. I mean, they don't go anywhere.
They don't. But even if they do, my mum bought me and my brother walkie-talkies. We legit had walkie-talkies. That's how my mum would get us to come home.
For my generation,
our neighbour,
the street lights on. It's time to go home. Yeah.
but we live in different generations. My mum keeps texting me now. Mum, don't forget your bed isn't made. That's your job. The streets are a bit more dangerous than they were back when you were youth. They're
not. See, this is the thing. They're not. They're perceived to be more dangerous, That's it.
Is that because we're more aware of the dangers because technology informs us of the dangers?
No, because media wants
Dan's
to keep
nodding.
us in a fear state, so we can't access our thinking brains. We can only then access our reactory brains. And again, it's a way the media keeps us dumbed down to actually
maybe
truly.
But I mean, I grew up on the outskirts of Birmingham, so for me, my area is, I live in a nice area, but just over there is a horrible area with horrible children that I wouldn't want Freddie mixing in with. So my mum had walkie-talkies for us, like I say, as opposed to a phone. We just had some cheap mile radius walkie-talkies.
All I can say is I didn't hear about real life knife crime until a good year or two into the campaign on the news of knife crime. I hadn't heard of a real life case anywhere around me at all. Yeah.
When was that?
This was when the knife crime epidemic suddenly started taking off.
I don't know when that was.
Yeah. Well, it's not too long ago. It's been a few years, like I say,
I physically saw somebody get stabbed 12 years ago. So for me,
I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that knife crime hasn't happened, it doesn't happen, and this kind of stuff. I'm just saying, again, because it's perceived that it's happening all the time. It's always happening. It's always happening. The kids live up to the expectation that society puts on them. Yeah, so they
maybe
start carrying a knife. I best start carrying a knife. Of course, knife crime is going to go through the roof if you start reporting on knife crime on the news, because people are going to want to protect themselves. It's that simple. Again, it's the news creating the problem by reporting on something that doesn't exist, or exists only in the very, very, very small minority, which is now unfortunately not the case. It's like happy slapping. Do you remember that craze of happy slapping that went around?
Oh God.
That didn't actually become a craze until it went on the news, because they wanted a new. This is the thing. They want, again, it's a separation tactic for adults and children, because you can no longer relate to your kids anymore, so you can't communicate properly. So again, it's sorry, I'll ramble. It's the agenda trying to break us up and get us fighting amongst each other, so we don't turn around, march down, and make sure that the people actually get their say rather than the House of Lords.
I know what you're saying.
Our government, the people we vote to make our laws, don't make our laws, people.
No, they don't.
It goes through vetting services first, and then has to be signed off by the Queen. Yeah? You think we live in a democracy when your laws have to be signed off by one monarch? We are in a monarchy at best and an oligarchy at worst. You don't know what oligarchy is? Look it up. It's a very interesting thing, and it will open your eyes to a lot of shit.
Do you want to drop the link, Dee? We are. Drop the link, and we'll get back on track to where we were. There was one other thing while we're dropping the link that I'm going to talk about. I think a lot of people in here probably would expect that from me, as they know me, but the meat and dairy industries being responsible for quote unquote 14% of global change emissions. Discuss.
Sorry, well, because from my research, it's the concrete industry that's really doing the most in the CO2 emissions. So I think that was up in the 40%.
But I felt like they were somewhat of a given, which is why I brought in the meat and the dairy industry, because I know that there's a lot of I was going to say high value targets, but that's destiny. There's a lot of like people in the limelight. You got Leonardo DiCaprio, and other celebrities. There we go. We'll use the word celebrities, whether you think they are or not, who are pushing for the meat and dairy industry to be a massive contribution to this. And I think that's, you've got to take into consideration, we are mass producing animals purely and only for your taste buds. That's not okay.
Yeah, no. Again, you know me. I'm a meat eater that thinks everyone should morally be vegan. To be fair, so yeah. I mean, if I thought I could survive off a vegan diet, I would. But pure distaste, unfortunately, for most of it. So yeah.
Thank you, Jammin Jammer. I think that people always come at me whenever I bring this up that, oh, well, it's natural to eat meat, it's natural to do this. And whilst that may be true, I personally don't think it is natural. I feel like me in the wild, like in some kind of Bear Grylls situation, I wouldn't kill the pig. You know, like people are always, oh, if you were on a desert island and there was just a pig, would you kill the pig? Well, no, I'd follow the pig and find where the pig gets the pig's food. You know, because the pig's eating. That's what I would do.
Yeah, no, I kind of understand the concept, but at the same time, you do hear of the studies and stuff that have been done into this kind of thing, and also from people that have been in that situation and stuff. And majority of them do, when it comes to it, they do end up like killing an animal when it comes to it. But not being funny, have you ever walked past a sheep and said, "Oh wow, that looks tasty"? Have you ever walked past a cow and gone, "Oh,
my dad
yum,
does all
that
the
looks
time.
tasty"?
My dad legit.
Yeah, but is he doing it for a joke, or does he genuinely think?
Yeah, I don't think that anybody can walk past a living animal and be like, "That looks yummy." It's only when you walk past it and you've desensitized yourself to what it actually is that you're like, ah, food.
Well, it's like, why do we call it beef? Why do we call it like lamb? Why don't we just call it sheep and cow?
And pig.
Yeah, and pig.
Yeah.
Like we've got all these different names for it. It's again, like you say,
chicken.
It's because most of us are empathic, and most of us can't handle that. So in order to get that kind of thing across, you have got to desensitize. And
So my point for this is that yes, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, when we had bows and arrows, we would shoot these animals with our bows and arrows that were in the wild. We weren't trapping and enslaving them in massive, great big factory farms. And I mean massive. I'm not talking about your little homestead with your 4 sheep and your Farmville.
Yeah.
I'm not talking
I live in the country.
I
can say that, yeah, that doesn't really exist. Yeah.
No.
At least not in this area anyway.
Yeah, I'm talking about the mass factory farm stuff that costs a lot of land because you've got to feed these animals. So not only do you need the land for the animals to be on, the land for the workers to work on, you also need the land to feed the animals. So you're wrecking on the topsoil, which you are. There is no longer B12 in the topsoil, which is why I have to supplement it, and which is why your animals are supplemented with B12. So don't come at me that I'm B12 deficient, because if your animals weren't supplemented with B12, you would be deficient. Thing for a vegan debate.
I need a banner that says vegan rant.
Vegan. Hang on. Do you want me to wait?
No, it's all right.
And so you need the land for that. You need the water for that. You need all of the electricity that it's going to take to house your little slaughterhouse, killing loads of innocent animals that don't want to die. And then you've also got to think of the waste that these animals are producing. That's a lot of waste, you know. That's a lot of waste.
Obviously, that ends up in our rivers. Yeah, that's why you can't drink river water anymore. Yeah.
And you've also got to take into consideration the waste of the actual meat. Like, what happens to the skin of a sheep? I know what happens to the skin of a cow, because that obviously goes to the leather industry. But what happens to the skin of sheep? Because you don't eat sheepskin.
I imagine they fit it in sausages somewhere, or you know what I mean. That other meat. Whenever you hear that in the ingredients and stuff, like I mean, I imagine they use pretty much everything in these industries, but I have no way of proving that. It's just it wouldn't make sense. See, I'm thinking of it from a corporate point of view. And the more they waste, the more money they're not making, if you know what I mean. So now corporations have taken over. I think at least nowadays, a lot more of the animal is actually being used. But that's just the business head coming on there. Sorry.
Yeah. I suppose a lot of it goes to then the Haribos as well, don't they? Because of your gelatin and your Haribos. And making your sweets that
money
are
as well.
gross.
The new currency we have in England, the £5 and £10 notes.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Is that a fake story then? Is it? I thought it came from.
The fact. No, it's not a fake story, but it was a cow, and it was one cow. Apparently, I read it was one cow that was enough for all of the money on release. That's what I heard. Whether that's true, I just heard that it was one cow. My brother's just messaged me saying, "Are you not reading out comments anymore?" I'll read out your comment if it's worthwhile and not just free bacon, though. And I've shouted mint sauce at a sheep because I know that's you. Give me a worthwhile comment, brother, and I will read it. And yes, sheepskin is rugs. And once I'd said sheepskin, I realised actually I have heard of sheepskin many things. There's Ugg boots.
You get sheepskin coats and all sorts. Yeah, football managers, isn't it?
Once I'd said it out loud, I was like, actually, sheepskin is a thing. So yeah, but all of the meat and dairy industry, that is my point, that they do contribute to climate change and global warming.
See, every corporation does, no matter what it's doing. It really does. I mean, even the ones that claim to be ethical. Like I say, if you're a corporation, you're not you can't maintain a business in this day and age without doing some unethical things. So
yeah. The other thing was the news recently. I keep reading that we are heading for. I've just broken my tablet.
Well, yeah, climate change. Thank you. Go on. Are you about to say solar minimum by any chance?
No, I was about to say that I keep reading that we're going to have the coldest winter of 60 years.
Yeah, well, I've not really read that. I've been told that. But yeah, no. Sorry. Well, in this case, this kind of leads into that then, really. Yeah, basically, we're going into a solar minimum at the moment, which means, well, my understanding is that there's very little sunspot activity. And every time we have one of these solar minimums is when we dip into the colder temperatures. And there's certainly a few conspiracy channels, but people who base their research on pretty decent figures and stuff. And yeah, they're all saying like we're heading for the new ice age and stuff. So it could be that for the next few years we're definitely going to get some colder winters. But again, I wouldn't attribute this to climate change. I'd look to the sun, the main source of our heat, and follow the records of that again, and you'll see we are heading into a solar minimum at the moment. Yeah, that's the link if anyone wants to jump on and have their say.
I posted it again because I know that there was a few people last stream that we did wanted to jump on this stream, and I don't think they have. So if you did want to come in and say what you wanted to say, then please feel free to hit that link and you can join. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want it on.
Well,
but
not being funny cakes, unless I know them, they're going to have to put a camera on before I put them on screen, because unfortunately there are some nasty people out there that will come on and play pornography and stuff on your channel. So got to be careful of that. So yeah, if I don't know you, then unfortunately you might not get on the screen if you're not willing to show your face. But that's just to safeguard this, so we don't have to take it down, or we don't have our channel taken down by the unfortunate morons that are out there. Yeah. So we would love to have an open site, and if somebody played pornography, just take them off. But unfortunately, YouTube does not allow anything like that, and that has happened on my own channel in the past. So it's
it did, didn't it? Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. So I've pretty much said most of what I wanted to say, but my brother has just messaged me saying that the methane that the cows produce, that was when I was talking about the meat and dairy industry. And I know, yeah, go on.
Well, no, it's again, it's no, because whenever somebody says that, it makes me think up of the ideas they had for trying to harness cow methane, like making domes for them and stuff, attaching devices to their rear ends so they could harvest all this methane. And yeah, so yeah, again, it just makes me chuckle when it comes up. It's nothing personal, no like haha at your ideas or anything. It was just
no.
The place it takes me in my head.
I know you well enough for you to not laugh at what I say straight away. And solutions was the other thing that I wanted to bring up with you, because the other day when we were talking about renewable energies, you shot me down at every turn. You were like, no cakes, no cakes, no cakes, no cakes. And I was like, what, man? Why can't I have this? So solar panels. I have obviously always thought solar panels, they're fun, they're warm, they're not warm, but they harness the sun's energy. You know how solar panels work. You've probably all got something that's solar panels. Well, not you, the people.
Yeah.
So you were saying that, go on.
Yeah, basically the amount of carbon energy it takes to produce these things, it way exceeds anything they can ever give back to us, basically. So again, it's unfortunate. It's another one of those tricks of the corporations of money making schemes, because the amount of grants and stuff that governments have given out for all this renewable energy is, I mean, I think what America's budget, like I was looking at, I think I mentioned earlier, 4.6 trillion at trying to tackle climate change. I mean, not being funny, even if you go to the mainest of mainstream, the BBC, yeah, they've just released a documentary by David Attenborough, another like wildlife one, yeah. And in this, obviously they push the global warming agenda or the climate change agenda, but they do let slip little bits of truth, yeah, that really mess up their agenda that they're trying to push. Because he keeps saying inconsistently, oh, we've been to this area that's been like left alone by humans for 10 years, and it's almost completely returned to normal. If not, sometimes it's like 3 times better than it was when they left it alone and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't cost a single penny to leave nature alone. Not one single penny. It doesn't cost anything. So where's all this money going? What is all this money going into? Again, it's just a scam to keep our fiat currency afloat. Basically, it's just a new way of creating new money, because what people don't understand is you're destroying the world before you can get to the climate. Every time you use credit in any single way or form, if you use a credit card or you get a loan, a mortgage or anything like that, yeah, that money is created.
He's in a haunted house.
My mum's just come in. Sorry. Give me 1 second. I'll just mute and
I'll carry on talking. So Jamie just put, whilst that's true, the initial carbon cost is a small price to pay for the amount they can give us back over their lifetime.
No. See, this is the thing. They can't. They need maintenance. They need all this kind of thing. And if you look at how much power you're getting back now from solar technology, you're just not. I think it's gone down by 50% in the last 20 years or something. The amount of power that you can actually get from solar energy. So yeah, and like I say, it's all a big scam. Because this money you're creating with credit, it's literally you're puffing it up out of thin air. And
can you support your claim with any evidence?
Okay, I'm not right now. No, I'm sure if I went off and did a bit of looking, yes. But what you need to do, like I say, I'm not here to give facts, figures. I'm not here to tell you what is what. I'm here to hopefully provoke a thought in you that will make you look in a different direction to the way you're looking, and take in other people's information and weigh that up. Yeah. So go. I mean, if type Google exactly what it is your question about what I've said, or don't use Google. Use a separate search engine like DuckDuckGo or something, and look into that yourself. This is what I hope anyone goes and does. Don't trust me. Don't trust me. Go off and do your research.
Wind power, go.
Yeah, no, again, with wind power, these things, these great big turbines, I mean, for one, they create ultra low level waves sound, basically, that we don't hear, but it interferes with us. So anyone living close to them will get angry more and stuff because the way these things affect our biochemistry, basically. And I think it affects people's sleep in areas. It affects bee flights, bird flights. And insects splat against them, and it only takes a few insects on these blades for the economy of them to drop dramatically. So they need to be cleaned off them. And also, if you drive past a wind farm, you will see, even on a windy day, that some of these fans are going and others are just still as anything.
But
so, I mean,
does it matter that they have to be maintained all the time? Does that affect climate change negatively, or does that affect the electricity they're producing? But does that matter?
And yes, the amount of electricity. Well, it kind of does, because again, we don't have a limited. We think for some reason we have this unlimited supply of money, but we're already, like I say, there's 80 trillion worldwide debt at the moment, and there's 18 trillion in cash flow. We don't have enough cash already to pay back the debt we've accumulated as a human society. So adding more cost to this is no, it's not the answer.
But if we have more wind turbines than we have burning natural fossil fuels, would we then not just transfer the people who were working on there to then maintain the upkeep of these? We'd not just switch the cost over, because what you've just told me doesn't seem to negatively impact the environment. It's just creating more jobs.
Well, no, it's not even creating more jobs, because, like I say, it's all done by corporations, and corporations are going to hire the minimum amount of people possible, and they will find a way of automating it. So that this is, but so yes, well, more
sorry,
jobs.
Hang on, pause for 1 second, because I'm literally just imagining window wiper blades on the turbine. So it's like, that's where my brain went.
See, I kind of pictured more little machines going over and cleaning it, but yeah, no.
So we've got all the stuff they come up with is no good. They're tricking us. That's from Intermusicable. Intermusicable.
Yo, Intermusicable. How's it going, man?
And then W683, the only issue we really face with renewable energy in this country is that each method other than wind is either unreliable or inconsistent in this country. Solar panels, for instance, are much more efficient in other countries than the sun, where the sun actually shows up.
Well, right, again, sorry, before you go on, I just want to finish my point. The thing with all of these renewable energies as well, they're all produced using these fossil fuel burning power plants, and most of it comes from the oil industry. But anything plastic, at the moment, it comes from the oil industry. So you're not supporting, you're really not. Nothing. None of this is supporting a cleaner, healthier world. It's really not. Like I said, the only way is for us to accept the fact that if we want the planet to be okay, we're going to have to give up this. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. We can't keep having our cake and eating it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen. Like I say, it's
W683, but wind turbines are not plastic.
Right, but you do understand that it takes machinery to shape these things, and these machinery bits are run with oil and diesel and all the stuff that comes from the petrochemical industry.
and the technology really isn't there yet. It comes on leaps and bounds it's come on leaps and bounds over this past 20 years, but we could not realistically rely on it. And that's true. What about the water turbines? Because we were told about all these renewable energies when we were kids, and I remember seeing videos on
you were told about Santa Claus when you were a kid as well. Sorry,
no, exactly.
See, this is the thing. We're told an awful lot when we're kids that we take onto adulthood. You find out is absolute crap. But go on.
But do they also just tell us that as kids, so that sets the ball rolling for us to think, what else could we use as renewable energy? You know,
not being for right. Again, you know, I come from quite the conspiracy world, like,
no.
What happens, and again, this is, you'll have to go back and look at newspaper articles about whistleblowers or people who have come up with new technology and all this kind of stuff. It's like they get the technology taken away from them. The big corporations buy the technology, they patent it, they buy the patents, and then they don't release anything with it. It's like, I mean, again, this is all on the conspiracy side of things, but it's all researchable. You can go and look into this stuff, and you've got to build that pattern up for yourself. Like I say, I do find the term conspiracy theorist very wrong, to be fair, because most people even think of themselves as conspiracy theorists. They're just researchers that have put their research together, and this is the conclusions they've come up with. And again, we're not going to convince anyone of anything on this purely because in order to get into the subjects we're talking about, we would have to do a 9-hour talk, and that would be not just about this. It would be about how we come to the conclusions that led us to this and that kind of thing. And not joking, it's a humongous subject. It's all encompassing, and almost everything we're going to talk about, I will, like I say, it brings back to this agenda, this movement, like I say, people who calling themselves liberals, but making very fascist statements and very fascist rules. And that goes back to what Chris said earlier. And we're giving up our freedoms willingly because we think we can't. It's like, oh, the government's done it again. Oh God, no, you're the government. The government is your voice, and you are letting them speak.
Your money. Yeah.
If you're not, if the government is making a choice you know is morally wrong and not justified, it's your moral duty as
obligation.
Obligation as a human fucking being to march down there and make sure your voice is heard by the politicians.
Yeah. So, honestly, this is not crap. This is something we should absolutely 100% be investing in. And I agree with that statement. I agree that we should be investing in cleaning up our everything, our environment.
Cleaning it up, yes, I'm 100% again, with cleaning it up. But I mean, that just comes down to self-responsibility and keeping the mess we produce.
It's what Chris said earlier. It's common sense to be looking after our planet. We live on this planet. And then W683, what is your stance on nuclear energy? I think nuclear energy is ridiculous. Why invent something you can't turn off?
Well, again, it's not that you can't turn it off. It's the materials they use are just. It's like, say, my youngest brother, he's a nuclear engineer who's just been promoted to. Basically now he's an inspector of the people that used to do his job. So inspects the nuclear engineers that used to do his job. And even he, like I say, even he says nuclear power is just a fancy steam engine. That's all it is. That really is all it is, because these poles heat up because of the degradation of the radiation, the radioactive particles in them. That causes them to heat up, which causes the water to heat up, which causes energy, steam power. It's basically what nuclear is. The trouble is, like you said, it's getting rid of the waste. Once these things get too hot, where do you put them and stuff? But all this stuff came from here. It came from right here. Like it's not like we made this stuff. Magic.
No. That was brilliant.
So
magic. Poof.
Yeah. But again, and the whole nuclear energy thing, unfortunately, you do, again, how true it is. There was a guy that used to go round back in the early days of nuclear energy, and he used to eat nuclear waste. He used to literally put it on his tongue, Geiger counter, showing it, and eat it and swallow it. And he'd tell stories of how when they were first building these nuclear reactors and stuff, they'd go swimming in the water because it was so nice and warm. And then all of a sudden one day all these regulations came in and they were told, oh no, you can't go doing this, you can't go doing that, you're going to die. People dying because of it. And these people lived quite healthy lives, or from the tales you hear anyway. So again, look into this stuff. It is an interesting topic for sure.
So what do you think could be a good renewable energy source? What do you think?
See, like I say, this is again, we're coming to, I'm trying to think of a way of having my cake and eating it. There might not be an answer. There really might not be an answer, or at least the answers I've heard of there would be very much considered conspiracy theories. And but yeah, I mean, we have basically perpetual motion devices now that I think could be turned into energy devices.
Okay.
Like basically, there's one that's quite a common one. It's like it's kind of a vase. It's got quite a chunk at the bottom, so it's got quite a lot of volume in it, and then it leads up and it comes out of the top and it trickles water back down basically, and it's perpetual motion because there's no energy put into it. It's a constant cycle. Now, if you stick a turbine in that, yeah, or something, you've got power being produced. Not a lot because it's a little tub, but I'm sure they could scale that up into something big and have so you're not putting any energy into it apart from maintenance. So that would take a huge amount of resources away from anything basically. But again, I'd like to go down to the clean energy, like the when you look at some of the concepts that Nikola Tesla was trying to come out with and stuff. Because our energy today is based on explosive energy. Right? The only way we can create energy is by exploding things. Well, Tesla's concept was more an imploding energy, looking at the vortex and the natural energy of the way things move and the imploding energies. So that's kind of like the renewable energies, because you're looking at, I mean, I'll go to Stargate, unfortunately. If anyone watched Stargate, there's a technology called a 0 point module. And it literally has got almost the entire energy of a galaxy in it, because it uses the energy that's at the core of everything. And that's unlimited, because energy can never be destroyed, only recycled, basically turned into a different form of energy. Again, I don't know how true that kind of stuff is. And so yeah, I'd like to see people working on these technologies. But again, like I say, when you see that people are working on these technologies and they seem to be making breakthroughs, the government comes in or they get bought up, the patents get made, and these people disappear, and the technologies are never seen. I mean, it's like the biggest story. Oh, pardon me, you're hearing this. Is there was a guy that literally figured out exactly how to, with a very small modification, change your car so it can run on water. Yeah, because water has hydrogen in it, basically. So all you need to do is, I think the base concept is get that water to a state where it's combustible. Yeah, because it's got hydrogen in it, at some state it becomes combustible. And I think that was the idea of the technology behind it, basically. Well, he figured it out. He did videos and stuff on how he was, and then all of a sudden Bosch disappears. Technology, we're never seen of it again. And this is a constant thing you hear when anybody really comes up with a game-changing technology that could really, really do something. It's like right now we could replace almost everything we do with petrochemicals if we just started using hemp, because everything that we make with petrochemicals can be made with hemp. It's just complete like change of our infrastructure, and that's the problem. We don't have the money now to make the kind of changes we need to make, and it doesn't matter how much money you stick into it, because again, it's spread out to all these little agendas. It needs to be funneled into one single area if it's going to be done, and nobody agrees what area it needs to be sunk into. And again, there is not enough money now because we're in too much debt as a society.
So this is really trippy, actually, really trippy. So I've always believed that me and my brother are connected somehow. I always remember whenever he has been in pain and he's been nearby, I felt that pain. He once had an ingrown toenail. Sorry, brother. That's why. That's my brother. So he had this ingrown toenail, right? I have a point, I promise. And I could feel the pain in my toe. The same toe, the same thing. Me and my brother have very similar ideologies and very similar things. And while you were talking, and when I asked you, what do you think we could use as a renewable energy source, my brain went to here. There are so many people that go to the gym and there are so many people who want to get fit. Why can't we turn that kinetic energy into energy, light energy? Because I mean, is this a thing that we could do? Is there a way that we could do this?
Easily.
It's disappeared. Why aren't we doing this? Like my brother says, manual labor power plants instead of gyms. Get paid to make some electricity.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, is that not an obvious thing?
Yeah, it really is. And again, it could very easily be done. But then you need a reliable source, if you know what I mean. So you would literally have to employ people to be fit, basically. And,
but you don't need a reliable source because the thing is that even if we don't need to completely switch right now, we don't completely switch.
Yeah, again, so I something I thought did just come to me. Yeah, actually, no, we can't, because most of these devices, again, they would take too much energy than we'd always be putting more energy in than we get out of it. The human.
You broke up a lot then, D.
So yeah, we're always going to be putting more energy in than we get out because you've got to feed the human. The human needs fuel in order to run, do exercise, and all this kind of thing. And the more you run, do exercise, this kind of thing, the more fuel you need.
Yeah, but I just
no, don't get me wrong. No, it's a great idea, and I think if they streamlined these machines and how they worked and the components and that kind of thing, so it wasn't geared to making you fit, but to making power. Then yeah, I imagine there would be a way of doing it. I mean, there's
a T-shirt that charges your phone. There's a T-shirt that you walk and it charges your phone. That technology is out there. There's that kind of technology is there. You walk, you charge your phone.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a watch out that's done that for years. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly been in my consciousness. But again, yeah, I mean, when they talk about smart pavements and stuff, where every time somebody walks on it, it gives a little charge, so it will help to charge signposts and stuff that are close by and all this kind of thing. But again, you've got to produce these pads. You've got to produce the technology underneath the pads. You've got to. It's all need, and it all comes from petrochemicals and coal-producing power stations. That's how our society's set up.
Which is, like you said, we need to give it a wobble and fix the way that our infrastructure works. I've just moved that.
Yes.
And fix the way that we, replace all motor roads and A roads with solar panel tiles. I saw a video about 2 years ago, and there's a few roads that have these solar powered things, and every time a car drives past, that's another one. Remind me, car driving past, and the car drives over the road, and the energy of the wheel going round and the wind that it produces, or something, I can't quite remember what it was because it was years ago that I saw it, would charge it up. And then the other one was, there's these wind turbines, little let's pretend that a car's this big, they were this big, and they were like turbines, and every time the car drove past, it would spin it, because obviously when your car goes that way, your air goes that I can't make my hands that way.
Yeah, displacement.
You
I know
know
what you mean. Yeah.
And it would force the wind turbines round and create energy. What's wrong with that?
Again, you got to ask yourself how much energy is being produced, how much energy is being put into it, and the cost it's going to take us in carbon energy. Forget money costs at this point, in carbon energy to produce this and keep it maintained. And ultimately, again, I'm making a prediction here. It's not going to be what we think it is.
Because they don't care. And
no, because we don't care. No, it's because we got to stop saying they. It's because we don't care. Because if we cared, it wouldn't have got in this state in the first place. If we cared, it never would have.
No. And on my journey this week, I read something, and if a car is coming at you, you've got imminent danger, imminent damage to your person. You're going to move out the way of the car if you can. But because the general public, the general aggregate of the public can't, because the general aggregate of the public can't physically see the effect that climate change and the damage and the destruction to our environment and everything, they can't physically see that imminent danger happening. They don't care. And when I say they, I mean the public. Then they're not seeing this. It's not going to immediately affect them. It might not even affect my generation. It might just affect, my boy's generation or the generation that's after him. So people don't see that there's an issue because it's not going to immediately affect that, and that's not okay. That's not. If an old lady's about to fall over, you're going to go and help that old lady. So, Well,
yeah, again, unfortunately, this does come into a wider agenda of the dumbing down of society and
flock mind. Yeah.
Well, it's not even that. It's right. We don't produce anything anymore. No. They got rid of our coal mines. They got rid of our steel industry. We don't produce really anything anymore. We consume. Again, that's our responsibility, because it all comes down to this comes back to money, because we want things cheaper. If you want things cheaper, then the only way to do that is to destroy the environment to get it. So if you really want to change the environment, stop demanding cheap stuff.
Yeah. This is one thing that I get at my work all the time. I had this woman come in and she was like, "Oh, this has gone up in price," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's because everything is made in England. That's because we all get a fair wage. We all get this. All of our suppliers are as ethically as we can make them. If you want that, you have to pay the extra." She's like, "It's the only thing that works," and I'm like, "Well, then buy it. Like, you can't complain that the money's gone up when it works and you're hitting everything. It's not tested on animals. Like, these products are amazing, and it all comes down to money. And you got your Tesco value stuff, and you've got your cheap stuff that nobody wants to buy. That everybody wants to buy because it's cheap, and that doesn't necessarily. Cheap doesn't equate to quality, and cheap doesn't equate to good.
And again, it's not even that. It's right now. If you go into a supermarket now and you don't go and see a cashier, if you go to one of these self-service machines,
oh, I hate them.
You are personally, you're putting someone out of a job. You are taking away somebody's job.
I hate them.
Yeah. So anyone who uses a self-service machine, because if you go and stand in queue, if you go and stand in the queue at a cashier now, most stores have a policy where they have to bring down more cashiers to stop the queues from getting too big. So all you've got to do, if you want to really make a difference to real people in real life right now here, and you want to get people hired for jobs, stop using the automated machines.
Stop using them.
Not being funny,
100%.
Most teenagers nowadays, their mainstay of jobs is to get those little jobs on the tills and stacking the shelves and this kind of stuff. They're not getting hired anymore because they don't need to be, because you lot are deciding to use your card on the computer rather than a real person. I mean, it's why our banks are closing down, because everyone's using their cards on the internet now. Nobody's going into the bank. If you're wondering why you suddenly can't go and talk to somebody anymore, it's because you used your credit card instead of going and taking your money out of the bank and paying in cash.
Your day's itinerary and the speed in which you must do it is not more important than a person's job.
Oh.
Not at all. I was going to say, at our local Morrison's, there's either 6 or 8, I can't remember, self-service checkouts, the little ones, and then there's 2 with the big conveyor belt on it. And that's manned by one person. And to me, that's 10. It's either 8 or 10.
That's
8
9
or
other
10
people's jobs.
Yeah. And it's ridiculous. I don't go to them unless.
No, see, there's always an unless. Don't get me wrong. I'm guilty myself.
No, I was about to say unless, but I can't think of a time where I do go to them. Me and Dan went to one the other day, and I can't remember why we had to do something, and it's really bad because I always say I won't use these, and then I caught myself using one the other day because I put my personal itinerary of the day before somebody else's job,
and
that's
we're humans. The devil. Right. All animals are geared towards using the least amount of possible energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's how you survive, basically. If you use too much energy, you tend to die sooner, basically, or you've got to find more to supply that energy, so you can then use that energy. So we're geared towards the easy life, and Weld has given us that. It's given us exactly what we as humanity want. Now we've got to stop getting what we want and start doing what we need. It's an attitude change. That's it. That's the only way we're going to change the climate or change the world, change anything. It's to change your attitude. Simple as that.
Yeah. Jennifer's just said, great topics. Glad people can care. I can't read. Great topics. Glad people care here. I definitely care, Jen. I care a lot. But the other thing is that I am also a slave to this system. I don't care enough to physically go out and do something about it. I don't have the time to go and do it, and I don't have the energy to go and do it, and the effort, and various other lame bullshit excuses to not go and do these things.
Again, a lot of the time it's not lame bullshit excuses. It's because you've been forced. It's like you don't go out to work by choice.
No.
Yeah. You go out to work because you need money in order to buy food and have shelter. Yeah. So there's no choice involved in you going out to work. Yeah. You could be a gold dosser if you want, but if everyone thought like that, we wouldn't have a system to run on. But so, like, there is no choice. People think, oh, wow, I can go and do this job. I can do that job. I can go do this job. Well, how about if you don't want to do a job? How about if you want to just sit at home and write poetry or paint paintings that nobody's ever going to buy, nobody's ever going to read? But that's your interest. That's what you want to do. What if you just want to sit there and potter around in your shed and make stuff? Yeah, you can't because you're too busy, because you have to be a part of the system. You have no choice. Like I say, you are a slave, whether you like it or not. You're a slave to the system. Like I say, you don't want to do any of this thing that contributes to the system. Go and ask the system, where can I go that I don't have to be a part of your system? There isn't. There is nowhere. You have no choice. There is no choice. You are a slave. And this is the thing. We've allowed it to happen to ourselves. So, yeah. So I have very little sympathy now. I'm angry at people. I'm angry at myself because I'm not doing anything. So I project that anger onto the people that I see not doing the same things I'm not doing.
You do project a lot, yeah. And I mean, I sit and I look at this room that I'm sat in right now, and I've got my phone here, I've got my vape here, which you've seen glued to my hand, I've got my tablet here, an extension cord just here, I've got the boyfriend here with his phone, his Xbox, his TV. Next to him is my Xbox, my TV, my Google Home. Somewhere down here is my son's Google Home hub. Like, all of this technology and all of this power just so that we can entertain ourselves, where obviously me and him could definitely find different ways to entertain ourselves. Just turned around giggling at me, you know, like
I'm surprised you didn't come and turn the power off.
Right, end the podcast here. My son's got a basketball hoop and a bike outside and loads of stuff, but we're also wrapped up in this technology that is contributing to this power and this need for us to have energy. And if we just stopped and went and did something else, and if everybody stopped and went and did something else, maybe we wouldn't have to worry about all of this CO2 that we're producing from burning fossil fuels and from breathing, you know.
I mean, not being funny, breathing shouldn't even be taken into account in this, because it's a necessity. I mean, it's ridiculous that that's even a figure. I'm sorry, it really is.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I mean, but yeah. Because then you will, no, honestly, because that kind of thinking will lead to people thinking, oh, it's okay to kill certain people. It's like, even nowadays, people think that, like, in hospitals and stuff, like, nurses will stop giving certain patients medications and stuff because they think that they're not going to make it, yeah? So rather than keep them alive, they let them die. Or they give them overdoses and stuff. There's this big thing on Facebook with this guy that was fuming because it had happened to him, and because his siblings had signed basically the form, it had been okay. So this euthanasia and stuff is happening because, and I was actually arguing with a nurse on Facebook that was saying it was perfectly okay what they did to this woman. These are the people that care for us. Yeah. And that's because of that kind of thinking, that we are the problem, and so it's okay to start killing off the old people. And soon we'll start, all right, he's disabled, we'll kill him off, or we'll sterilize him so he can't have kids and spread that genetic disability on. And it's all happened in the past, very recent history. This is recent history I'm talking about here in America, the eugenics programs and stuff that went on in America. Sterilized.
Not even that as well. You've also got the amount of children that are allowed in China, and the mothers physically having to push their babies off that bridge. Don't know if you heard about that one.
Well, no, there was up until a few years ago. Yeah, there was a one-child law in China, so most of them were killing the females, or just like abandoning the females because they wanted sons and stuff. Yeah, so it's not something I've looked massively into, but yes, certainly within my consciousness.
Jamie's just said, "How do you feel about assisted dying?"
Self-responsibility. This comes down to, personally, I myself don't plan to live life in pain, so I know that the chances are, unless I'm killed by an accident, I will be taking my own life at some point, and not because I'm depressed and but because
no. There's a difference. There's a difference, because there's a difference between suicide and euthanization.
But this is the thing.
Personally, if I was in that kind of state where I was in so much pain, I wouldn't want to. What life would I be living? What life would I be living where all I could do is sit and not be able to talk and not be able to do anything, not be able to care for myself? I don't want to be in that situation. And I also don't want to see my mama in that situation at all. Like, if my mum gets to the state where she can't do anything for herself and she's in that much pain, I wouldn't want to see her like that. Anybody that I care, anybody, and not even people that I care for, literally anyone. I don't want to see anybody have to go through that.
This is also something where we as a society need to take responsibility and talk to other people about this stuff, so they know your wishes, so there can be no doubt, basically, to what you consent to. Because again, I don't think other people should be allowed to consent to your death. Like, I don't think any family member should be able to say, yes, you can die. Yeah, I think the person was, that's tough shit, unfortunately. If you wanted to die, you should have communicated that to your family. Your self-responsibility, you missed out, you've now got to go through a painful death. That's your fucking problem, unfortunately. Yeah, if you haven't communicated that properly to your family and the people around you, then unfortunately, that's your own tough shit, your own lack of
that's why people sign
self-responsibility.
DNRs, you know?
Yeah, but again, I think family can override those things and stuff. So again,
if I had a do not resuscitate order and Dan was like, no, resuscitate her, I swear to God.
If he was married, I think he might have a say. Yeah, I think if you were married, he might have a say.
I would punch him in the face and then remove all the tubes myself. Like, if I had decided that, like, I just, if that's what I had decided.
But, sorry, actually, the question was assisted dying as well, which is somebody else killing you. Yeah, again, this comes down to, I think, if you've communicated it properly to people, then, and you are no longer able to do it yourself, then yeah, as long as your wishes are known and everything, I don't think the person doing it should have any comparability of murder or anything.
There was a story. There's a story recently of an old couple. I can't remember their ages, but the man was on a massive amount of drugs, and the lady didn't want to leave. Didn't want him to die and her to be left here. She wanted to go with him. So they both took all of his tablets, put them into a powder, but took them out of the capsules, put them into a powder, took the tablets. She lived and he died. She's now being prosecuted for this, even though their son and their daughter both knew that this is what was going to happen. Did you see that as well? She is now going through the court system and being tried for murder, which is disgusting. Not only has she, and this happened a while ago, not only has she had to live through her husband dying when she wanted to die with him and she helped him die, she is now being tried for murder. Like, that's disgusting. She's a really old lady as well.
Well, this is unfortunately because we've allowed the legal system to take over the lawful moral code. Basically, we don't live under law anymore. We live under a legal system, which is completely different. And again, it's something we've allowed due to consent, because it is a law of consent. Your parents kind of consent for you by signing your birth certificate, and it all kind of goes from you not being educated into how to reclaim your basically. Because, well, you've got to ask yourself why you called Mr. or Ms. before you're 7, and then after that, or Master, sorry, and after that it changes to Mr. It's because you've lost your chance to claim you're alive, and the government now sees you as a dead entity and can treat you as such. Yeah. So, and again,
different time for a different podcast.
Yeah, different topic for a different time, that one. But yeah, it's
yeah. So I'm going to post the link again and see if anybody.
I did it not too long ago, and yeah,
I've posted it again. Up, but... Okay.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
So there was another kind of renewable energy that I wanted to talk about, and it's completely gone out of my brain. Absolutely.
Hydro?
No, I've done hydro.
All right, to be fair, the most realistic one I've heard of, again, this would cost, I think, $4.5 trillion. It was done, the calculations were done in dollars, and that would be to put solar panels around the center of the moon, basically. It would cost us, I think, 4 years of what we usually spend on energy to do this, and we'd never have to spend another penny on energy ever again, because it would give us enough energy to supply us for the rest of our, like, humans.
Hang on, put solar panels around the moon. How do we get the energy from the moon?
It'll be stored in capacitors, basically, batteries, huge, humongous batteries.
And then we bring the batteries back down.
Pretty much. And then, of course, you got to remember, you got to take into effect at some point, like, the technologies of space elevators and stuff are going to need to be brought in. But they're pretty much, they're kind of doable now. Again, it's the cost issue. But yeah, this is all stuff that Elon Musk talks about or has talked about in the past, like easier ways of, and other NASA scientists and that kind of stuff, easier ways of getting into space, basically. So yeah, once you break those barriers, it's a rather realistic goal. And again, it just depends on how much people are willing to put in monetarily. And seeing as money only exists,
VB's here.
Doesn't matter. So
VB just put lol at space.
Oh yeah, again, of course you have got to assume that they're telling us the truth about space and that it actually exists and that the moon is.
That's where my brain went, Chris.
And yeah,
Chris, don't. Yeah, I see that as the least viable solution personally. Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, no.
No.
I'm shooting your idea now, D.
No, like I said,
I disagree.
Again, this would be the only kind of way at the moment I could think of doing it without ever having to put any more money into it once it's done. Like, if you know what I mean, you're just spending a little bit on transferring the energy back here. So yeah, it's the amount of energy. They actually did a proper study on this. This was one of those things that they did cost issues and all this kind of stuff, and yeah, it was the most economically long-term viable option.
So W683 just put, how would you even get to the moon? What about the debris field?
I'd be more worried about
radiation
they claim to use to travel about in space, to be fair, and how they get over the fact that they break Newton's first or second law, whatever it is, that there's no action without an equal and opposite reaction. And how do you get a reaction in space?
When?
That's I'm looking to see if there's an actual launch date
yet. So yeah, anybody else?
Okay, we're kind of getting off the climate change subject, really, aren't we? So
we have got off the climate change a bit, yeah. How would anybody else? Does anybody else have any thoughts, views, opinions on climate change? If anybody wants to jump in, and be on the panel, feel free. No links there. If not, tippity type. Elon Musk's Starman footage has 0 space debris field. I mean, it's Elon Musk.
I don't trust NASA. I don't trust any of these things because they've all been literally proven to put out fake videos, fake photographs, fake information. So yeah, it's
Newton's laws of physics only apply to Earth. Just saying.
No. They make computer games, like space games and stuff, based on Newton's laws. So Newton's laws certainly don't only apply to Earth. it's a what's the word? A physical law. Like, I mean, it means it applies to all of physics, universe wide. That's why it's a law.
Yeah. So my brother's just sent me something, and I'm going to read it out because he makes a bloody good point. So Greta is a 16-year-old Swedish environmental activist who shares her anger, frustration, and anxiety about the climate with the world. She is neither a scientist nor an economist. She's offered no practical solution to the economic devastation her ideas would cause. Admirable passion, wrong thesis, media star with a Google search resulting in 176 million. Boyan Slat is a 23-year-old inventor who designed the world's first ocean plastic cleanup system at the age of 16. He now leads a group developing advanced technologies to rid the world's ocean of plastic. His solution involves no economic destruction, admirable passion, right thesis, media not interested, Google search of 270,000 results. That's bang on. It just says how much we as people do not care for a solution. We don't give a flying
It's not so
fudge
much
for a solution.
Again, it's not so much we don't care. We're not presented with the solution. It's not advertised to us the same way that the problem is. So it's harder for people to even get hold of this kind of information and stuff. So
yeah, but that goes to the media. The media doesn't care.
Well, they're coming up with algae and stuff that's going to eat the plastic in the oceans and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, but again, you've got to worry about introducing new species into the environment, because quite a lot of the time when it happens, it doesn't go to plan. I mean, that's why we've got African killer bees now, or Africanized killer bees, because they were modified and put into a different ecosystem, and they went wild. And bullfrogs in Australia were introduced to take care of the rat problem, and they ended up being worse than the rats because they eat anything. One cat is responsible for killing an entire species of bird. There was a lighthouseman took his cat to an island. I think it was off New Zealand or Australia, and found this new species of bird. And by the time the specialist got there to check out this bird, they were all dead because his cat had eaten them all.
Insane. My cat brought in a pigeon yesterday. Speaking of cats and pigeons, so the pigeon was dead and outside with its stomach out, and then like we came downstairs and me and Dana sat here, and then next thing we know, the pigeon's just over there on the floor in its entirety. She'd brought us a present. Thanks, babe.
Well, Chris Hayes, you're in the chat. Can you put the name of that channel that APM Research uses for the free energy? I can't. Was it Vinny St. Vincent or something like that? If you could just put the name in there so people can go and check that channel out for anyone who is in the chat who wants to look into the free energy ideas and see if they can be inspired by this kind of thing. Sorry, Chris, I know it's a pain in the ass asking you to do shit like that, mate. But
he won't be able to post a link, D. You'll have
no,
to
he won't
put
be
the spanner on.
He'll be able to put the name of the channel in there anyway. So
okay, cool.
Like I say, this is what I mean. We're not here to do everything for you, folks. Some research takes work.
And like we said at the beginning of this, both me and Dee came into this with opposing ideas last week, like completely polar opposite. But there's so many conflicting opinions on them internets. There's so many different graphs that me and Dee have been looking at all week, and we spoke for like 2 hours before almost 2 hours before the podcast this evening. And both of us were like, how can we possibly, I can't see that. I've only got top chat on.
Oh, that says, Greta's parents show no sign of getting her help for her BS alleged Asperger's symptoms. They'd rather she remain traumatized by climate change propaganda-induced fear. And again, it's a bloody good point.
We touched on that at the beginning, yeah.
I mean, where are her parents in all this? And is this some sort of child abuse, like putting her out into the public forum like this? Because, I mean, they must have known she was going to be attacked like she had.
Yeah.
So, or maybe, like
as
again,
a parent, can you do
the reason
that
the agenda used her was to lower the cases of attack. But yeah, no, I mean, thank you, Chris. Yeah, Vinny St. Vincent. There you go. If you type in that channel and try and find that channel, he works a little bit with the energy devices. I don't know whether free energy is the correct usage and stuff, but he may be able to inspire some of you guys out there who are looking into that subject. Because again, that could be a solution to all this climate change problem we're having by getting rid of all these fossil fuels and stuff you think are causing it. So excellent. Yeah, no, thanks ever so much for that, Chris Hayes, man.
James just put, did you watch the climate change documentary with David Attenborough that Greta was on? I haven't watched documentaries for two reasons. One, because I find it harder for me to intake information just by watching it. I get distracted and I'm easily misled. And I'm not necessarily, maybe misled's the wrong word, but I'm easily swayed by watching things. I would prefer to look at physical data and information. I find that a lot easier for my brain to digest, as opposed to watching something. I'm a very visual learner, which I know logically then I'd be able to watch documentaries, but I probably will watch it more as a informative thing, not necessarily a information gathering thing. I know that sounds like the same thing, but in my brain it's completely different. She mentions her parents disapproving of her actions, that's all.
Well,
I mean, as a parent of a 16, if my boy was 16, I think that I would be able to stop him appearing at
and like I said, this started years ago as well. This was a lot of this started before she was of consentable age. So if her parents didn't like it, trust me, they could have. Like I say, honestly, the more and more I look at this and think about it, Greta is not just a puppet. I mean, I really think she's been put in place. She's heavily coached, and I think she's just a figment of everyone's wish for someone like that to exist.
Well, I caught the beginning of Validation Boys and Jed's Grey Area. You should definitely check that out last week. It was a brilliant, I watched for an hour and a half, and then I've already said Dali came on and I got bored. But at the beginning, they were saying that there was loads of books that had already been written before Greta was even in the public eye. There's been countless books that were then launched the day after she set sail. I'm like, this has already been in place for this girl to be the poster child for destruction and disaster and all of this. And yeah, Validation Boy Greta has a massive production team. I did type in your chat, but you weren't reading out your chat, that whilst she sailed across the ocean to eliminate her carbon footprint, that sounds amazing on the face of it. That excellent, great. But what they didn't tell us was that 6 sailors had to then fly a few days afterwards on 6 separate flights to bring her back because she's too young to sail across the I don't actually know which sea it is. That just goes to show, is it the Atlantic? I don't know. I'm not geography. I can't with the geography. But yeah, so she definitely reduced her carbon footprint with flying 6 different sailors over to help her sail. You've got her parents are complicit, if not heavily involved themselves. I completely agree, because going back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast, that her grandfather was heavily involved in climate change. So as a parent, you don't bring up a child to necessarily have different views to you. So the grandparent would bring up her parents, and then her parents would have brought up her to be in this mindset. So I think she can say that her parents disapprove as much as she wants. She's probably just being a 16-year-old who's, oh, my parents don't agree with me. You know, like, my parents don't know anything. I'm 16. You know, so yeah, but again, like I said at the beginning, I commend her ability to speak in front of people as she did.
So I'm kind
in
of
a
taking
language
back
that
my
isn't her own.
commendation of that, to be fair. I've kind of, in this course of this conversation, no, I mean, to be fair, the amount of coaching and the amount of everything that's been put into this, it's yeah, I'm not quite.
But I still think for a 16-year-old to be able to speak a different language in front of loads of different people, I'm impressed by that. That's the thing that I'm impressed by. Not impressed by anything else. I'm not impressed with the demeanor that she had. You can't go into a place and be like, how dare you? You can't do that. There's ways Nobody's going to listen to you. As in, those people aren't going to listen to you. Those people are going to listen to your actions. They're not going to listen to your words. If I went into the CEO of my company and be like, how dare you do this, 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 and this, he's going to be like, he's going to laugh at me and kick me out and sack me. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a way to do things, and the way I think is to actually act. Chris has just put climate change is a small part of the agenda she's involved in. I'd say much bigger game being played here. I'd honestly love to hear more of what you think, Chris. I wish you'd come on. I've posted the link a million times because I would really like to hear. When me and Dee set about this last week, I thought we were going to have completely opposing opinions because we have done before. Me and him have now got rather similar opinions, which is not what we were going to do. So I would really like to hear an opposing view on this. Also, Dee, I want to apologise to you because our podcast won't be able to be in Korea because this is a Winnie the Pooh mug and that's banned in Korea. So I just thought I should apologise for that. Is it China? Oh, well, it's banned in China. I don't care. It's banned. It's forbidden. It's forbode. It's harass. No.
So I've just tried to make myself.
You sound like a robot, Dee. You're a robot, Dee.
Model.
No.
Hang
on. Dee, you sounded like a robot then. None of us could hear a word you said.
So yeah, basically I'm trying to post a link. I've basically tried to make myself a moderator so I can post links in the chat, and hasn't worked because I just tried posting a link and it didn't work.
Send me the link on Facebook if you're on your phone, and I'll copy and paste it and put it in there because I'm on my tablet and my Facebook's on my tablet.
Oh, right. So I'm just about hi, see if it's worked. Oh, it has worked. All right. Well, so there we go.
Oh, right. You're all good.
So, yeah, I'm just going to put a couple of links in, and there's a link to Vinnie St. Vincent's channel. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, feel free to carry on talking. I do apologise. Oh, you've gone off now. Right, let's go back here.
On guest show next week. You two. On guest show. Do you mean great? Does he mean great? Does he mean Jed show? Discussing you with Jamie earlier, Chris. How top you are, hun.
Yeah, validation boy. Yeah, I'm going to put a link into Jed's channel now because next Saturday, I think around 11 p.m. UK time, playing music. Around 11 p.m. UK time. The Grey Area is going live, and Jed's asked me to come back on already. Validation boy, and I'm gonna have a bit of a drink that night. I don't drink often, but
that should be fun. So I was supposed to be on last week.
Try and get on.
But Jed took 50 minutes to post the link. Jed took about 50 minutes to post the link, by which time I was already in bed. So, if nobody else has, you're awesome, 2 cakes, top lady. I was saying, oh, thanks. Yes, VB, please keep Dally out unless he's going to pass out again, and in which case, definitely get him in. But I had to leave. I really wanted to stay VB for as long as I could, but Dally was literally sending me to. I was exhausted. I was so tired. I'd done 6 days at work, and I don't do 6 days. I'm quite lazy. I'm not all about that life. And I was exhausted, so I had to dip. I unless anybody else has anything to bring to this conversation, I want to get on to next week.
I think Jennifer said the most relevant thing tonight.
So we kind of want to hear your opinion on what you want us to discuss next week. We've picked 4 topics of our list of things that we want to talk about. What we're going to ask you guys to do is in the actual comments, not in the live chat comments, in the actual comments, please could you type which one you want, or I might make a poll on our Facebook and Instagram. If I can do it on Instagram, I'm not too sure. I'm a bit cabbage. Of what you want us to talk about, and on Wednesday we will announce what we'll be talking about. We'll do a little 5-minute video of what's going on, because that gives us a few days for me and Dee to formulate what we want to talk about. So your topics are transgender, going in there, jumping in the deep end, transgender, abortion, veganism, or technology. Yeah, and then whichever ones we'll just work it out for the following weeks. But definitely let us know in the comments what you want me and Dee to chat about, whether it be transgender, abortion, veganism, or technology.
Think of us as your puppets.
It'd be more like, shut up.
Oh no, I've just done a Masonic hand sign trying to do a puppet now. I'm going to be Oh, that's another thing as well. Sorry, there is a picture, of Greta Thunberg with doing the old one eye with a coin covering her eye, which is a very like Masonic thing. You see all the famous people doing it in Hollywood and stuff, that they've all got their pictures doing the triangle eye, the covered eye. It's a very, very Freemasonic symbol, and almost every time you see somebody who's like in the media doing this, you pretty much tell they're bought by the Masonic kind of agendas and stuff. Because it's like that. That's the calling card to let the people in the know, basically.
Hang on, your missus has messaged me again. One sec, because this might be. Oh, Tiff, if you're watching, you're sending me YouTube videos. Can't really watch YouTube videos.
Does like to be sending her links and stuff, but yeah,
I'm live. So we've already got 1 vote. I will mark down your vote. I make a 15-minute video on Greta months ago, and I used that image. Did you really? That's pretty cool, VB. I'm loving that. I don't actually think I subbed to you. I will when I think I said this last time. That I will
what I'll do, because I'm on the 1v1 on the laptop at the moment. Oh no, I'm not. Damn it. This one. What I'll do is I'll sub to Validation Boy now. So you don't have to
give VB a sub. Yeah, I keep trying to not watch my little girly videos on our channel so that you don't get like suggested how to make pussycat nails. So I don't think you want that. Because the algorithm. Peep my channel already, geez. Yeah, man. So yeah, I don't think anybody else has anything they want to bring to here about climate change, man versus nature.
Yeah, no, and again, I really do wish I could have come at this with a more confirmed, it's definitely not man. Because unfortunately, like I say, my research is only backed up by the agenda more than the actual figures, because it's misinformation. There's so much conflicting information, if not
there is
misinformation out there. It's so hard to make up your mind, and I kind of think that's how they want us, unable to really have a proper 100% say on this. So please look into this yourself and look into the wider aspects around it as well, because like I say, there are a lot of big corporations being formed out of this, and lots of the centralization of power organizations are using this as an excuse to centralize power and take away our freedoms and that kind of thing as well. So yeah, it's just looking to the wider aspect of everything. And if anything, it's a better distraction than sitting and watching the TV and the movies. It really is. And yeah.
Definitely agree with that.
Oh wait, I didn't. Sorry. There we go. All right. Yeah. So subscribe to VB now. So
amazing. There you go, VB.
Yeah, I'm already on my channel. I'm already subscribed. But I want to go. I'm going to put a link to VB's channel in as well. And yeah, people, you may be surprised, like I say, by some of Validation Boy's content, but again, yeah, each to their own, and look into some of the stuff he puts out, because again, it is it's thought-provoking at the very least.
But exactly. Even if the thing is that when Jamie was disagreeing with you last week, even if she does disagree with you, it still gives her and other people who are going to disagree with you and are going to disagree with me the opportunity to be like, hang on, I want to know how much fact is behind what they're saying, and I want to know, you know, and hopefully that gives you the opportunity to think, oh, I don't agree with that. I'm going to go and look for myself, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is you coming up with your own opinion. I don't want to sway your opinion. Yeah, so just go and do your own research, guys.
I kind of do want to sway people's opinions. I'm a natural dictator, unfortunately. Yeah, I have very high self-opinion of myself, and I truly think that if you gave me control, yeah, I'd have pretty much all the world's problems sorted out within 5 to 10 years, as long as you didn't mind a few inhumane things possibly happening. Yeah. So
this is why we're not giving you power, D. No power to D.
Oh no! Yeah, I certainly, like I said, I'm not looking for power, but I'd certainly know that if I was given it, yeah, I'd have a lot of the problems sorted out pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
But I'm sure a lot of you guys out there think that as well. But yeah, I want to say thanks for tuning in again, guys. We've actually gone on for over 2 hours tonight. So
yeah, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of you guys.
How's it going? Met you on Jamie Brown's, Vegan Realist channel earlier. And again, yeah, big shout out to Vegan Realist. Let me put his link in the chat. Sorry, because
do it.
He's been massive in
supportive.
Getting us promoted. He's a proper lad. He's awesome.
Jamie's a good egg. He's a good boy. We like him.
Sorry, it takes me a second. I'm an old guy. I can't type super fast like you guys. So
yeah, just thanks to everybody who's been supporting us and keeping our chat going and chatting and coming up with your own theses. Hopefully you'll drop us a message with what you want us to do next week. We don't want to be putting out stuff that you guys aren't interested in watching, because what's the point in that? There's just going to be me and Dee having a conversation then, and we won't achieve anything then.
I said, to be fair, yes, it's the second week we've offered guests on and nobody's joined us. So again, obviously, yeah, the rules basically, if I don't think I can confirm you to my satisfaction, we're not going to let you on the screen purely because of the dangers of porn bombing. But again, if you don't want to show your face, you don't want to put your face out there, send me a message, let me know what screen name you're going to be coming up with, that kind of thing, and we can sort things out easy enough. And yeah, we don't expect anyone to put their face out there if they don't want to, but
no,
if you want to come and be safe, please
drop us a message on our Instagram or on our Facebook, which are both 1v1 me's.
And I will start adding that stuff I will start adding that to the description as well, so everyone will be able to find those things easier. Unfortunately, at the moment, I'm in charge of getting all this sorted, and I'm terrible with putting hashtags and links and all this kind of stuff in the description, but I
Yeah,
will
you
get
are.
around to it, guys. Yeah.
You're an old man. It's all right. We'll forgive him, won't we, guys? So yeah, just big thanks for everybody who's came tonight. Miss Fire's just got here. She'll check us out next time. Every Sunday at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I was just there. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, one verse one. Me podcast Sunday. Yeah. And that's UK time as well. Yeah, so GMT +1 or whatever it is at the moment. Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be changing on the 27th of October, I think it is anyway. So yeah.
Extra bad.
You're always in bed, D. Let's be honest here.
Got extra hour to sleep. Extra hour to sleep.
You don't get up at a specific time.
Wow.
You get up when your body tells you to get up. You are living the dream.
I know, I do. If it only wasn't for the pain in my back.
I know. All right, and guys, I think we're gonna love yous and leave yous. And we will catch you next Sunday, 9 o'clock. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Again, transgender, abortion, veganism, or technology. Drop it in the comments, the actual comments, not the live chat, because I'm probably not going to look at the live chat again.
Yeah, put it in the comment when this shuts down, if you don't mind, guys. I know it means clicking back onto us and writing a comment, but that way we've got a solid record. And yeah, Wednesday we'll stick out a 5 to 15-minute video, just let you guys know what we're going to be talking about next week.
Yeah, amazing, cool. Thank you for coming. We'll see you soon. Be good.
Thank you, everyone. So it takes me a couple of clicks and then we're gone. Right.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.